Paperwork covered my desk like snow. Contracts, signatures, numbers with too many zeros. 3 years of work sat inside that stack, and tomorrow it would finally be real. The $320 million merger between my firm and Shin Holdings. I should have felt proud. Instead, I felt tired. Almost done, Mr. Reyes. Priya's voice came through my phone, still at the office even though it was past 9. Almost, I said. Just need Myra's father's final notes before tomorrow. You sound exhausted. I'm fine. I wasn't lying. Not yet. I set my phone down and walked toward the hallway to get water. That's when I heard her voice. Mera. She was in the home office, door half open, phone on speaker. Her laugh floated out first, soft, warm, the kind of laugh she used to save for me. Stop it, she said, still laughing. You're being ridiculous. A man's voice answered, light and teasing. Am I wrong, though? Ethan, I swear. Ethan. My feet stopped moving on their own. Fine, fine, Ethan said. But you have to admit, I basically run your calendar better than your actual husband does. My stomach turned, just slightly. A joke. It was a joke. I told myself that immediately. You're impossible, Mera said. Say it, he said. Say I'm your work husband. There was a pause. A pause that lasted too long. Then she laughed again, quieter this time. Fine. You're my husband. Happy. I stood frozen in the hallway, one hand against the wall. My glass of water forgotten somewhere between my fingers and the floor. It was a joke. People say things like that all the time. Co-workers. Interns. It means nothing, but something in her voice didn't sound like a joke. It sounded comfortable. Familiar. Like she'd said it before. I have to go, Mera said. Daniel's probably wondering where I am. Tell your husband I said hi, Ethan said, laughing. Ethan. Kidding, kidding. The call ended. I heard her set the phone down. I should have walked in right then. I should have said something. Instead, I turned and walked back to my desk like my legs belonged to someone else. I sat down. I stared at the contract in front of me without reading a single word. A few minutes later, Mera appeared in the doorway, wearing the soft gray sweater I bought her last winter. She looked normal, relaxed, like nothing had happened. Hey, she said. You're still up? Yeah, I said, finishing the merger paperwork. She walked over and kissed the top of my head. You work too much. So do you, I said, keeping my voice even. Long day. Ethan had a million questions about the quarterly report. She rolled her eyes, smiling. That kid never stops talking. Sounds exhausting, I said. You have no idea. She said it so easily, so naturally, like there was nothing behind it at all. I'm going to shower, she said, squeezing my shoulder. Don't stay up too late. I won't. She left the room, and I sat there, alone, listening to the water start running down the hall. I told myself I misheard. I told myself it was nothing. A stupid joke between co-workers, the kind people make when they're comfortable, when they've spent too many late nights together working on reports that could have waited until morning. I told myself a lot of things, but my hands were still cold. I looked down at my wedding ring, turning it slowly with my thumb, the metal catching the desk light. Husband. She said it so easily. Husband. Not a slip. Not a mistake. A word she'd clearly used before, comfortable in her mouth like it belonged there. I sat in that chair for a long time, staring at the ring, replaying the word over and over until it stopped sounding like English at all. I met Mera 3 years ago at a dinner her father hosted to discuss a potential partnership between our firms. I remember thinking she looked bored out of her mind, sitting through another business dinner disguised as a family event. You look like you'd rather be anywhere else, I said, sitting down beside her. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who feels the same way. She laughed, and that was it. That was the beginning. 6 months later, we were engaged. A year after that, married. Somewhere in between, the wedding and the merger became the same conversation. Her father never separated the two. Daniel, Mr. Chen said once, gripping my hand a little too firmly, family is family, but business is business. I expect both to go well. I told myself that was normal, old-fashioned, not a warning. Priya noticed things before I did. She always did. Can I say something you're not going to like? She asked one afternoon, standing in my office doorway. When has that ever stopped you? Myra's been staying late a lot. With the new intern. Ethan, I said. He's helping her with the quarterly reports. Every night this week? She's ambitious. Priya. That's one of the things I love. I stopped myself. That's who she is. Priya crossed her arms. I'm not saying anything's happening. I'm just saying be aware. I trust her, I said. That's not something I question. I know you do. Priya's voice softened. I just don't want you to be the last person to notice something everyone else already has. Her words sat heavier than I let on. Noted, I said. Anything else? No. She turned to leave, then paused. You work hard for people who don't always notice, Daniel. Just keep your eyes open. I nodded, but inside I brushed it off. Trust was the foundation of everything I'd built. The firm, the marriage, my entire life. If I started doubting it now, what did that say about the last 3 years? That night, Mera came home late again. Almost 11. Sorry, she said, dropping her bag by the door. Ethan and I lost track of time going over the presentation. It's fine, I said. She walked over and kissed my cheek quick and easy, like she'd done it 1,000 times before, because she had. You ate? She asked, already heading toward the kitchen. I ate. Good. She opened the fridge, grabbed water, and leaned against the counter like this was any other night. Big day tomorrow. Merger's signing. Yeah, I said. Big day. You nervous? No. I lied. You should sleep, she said, kissing my cheek again on her way past. I'm going to shower. Okay. I watched her disappear down the hallway, listening to the familiar sound of water running, the same sound as last night and the night before that. I thought about Priya's warning, about the word I'd heard through that door, about how easily Mera had said it, like it wasn't the first time. I could ask her, right now, walk down that hallway and say, who is Ethan to you? But if I was wrong, I'd break something that didn't need breaking. And if I was right, I needed proof before I said a single word. I sat back down at my desk, opened my laptop, and started looking for a way in, quietly, carefully, into a part of her life she thought I'd never see. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic and old paper. Grandpa Arthur sat propped up against 3 pillows, thinner than the last time I'd visited, but his eyes were as sharp as ever. You look terrible, he said, before I even sat down. Good to see you too. Sit. Tell me what's wrong. Nothing's wrong. I'm just stressed about the merger. He raised an eyebrow. 3 years I watched you close deals twice this size without losing a night of sleep. Try again. It's a big deal, Grandpa. $320 million. There's a lot riding on it. Daniel. He said my name the way he used to when I was 12 and lying about breaking his study window. I've known you your whole life. I know what stress about money looks like on your face. This isn't that. I looked down at my hands. It's not important right now. You need to rest. I'm dying. Not stupid. He shifted against the pillows. Let me tell you something, and then you can lie to me all you want. Grandpa, when I was your age, I had a partner, Robert. We built the first version of this company together. He paused, catching his breath. Robert started making decisions I didn't agree with, cutting corners, small things at first. I felt it in my gut. Every time, something's wrong here. What did you do? Nothing, he said. I told myself the relationship was more important than my feelings. I told myself I was being paranoid. I froze everything I felt because I didn't want to lose the partnership. What happened? Robert nearly took this company down 4 years later. And I let it get that far because I refused to trust what I already knew. He looked at me, steady. A man who freezes his feelings ends up freezing his whole life. Daniel. Everything. Not just the one thing he's avoiding. The words landed somewhere deep, somewhere I didn't want them to. This isn't about the deal, is it? He said. Not a question. I didn't answer. Go home, he said gently. Stop performing for me. Go find out whatever it is you're afraid to find out. I'm not afraid. Then why haven't you looked? I had no answer for that either. I left the hospital a little after 8 and drove home in silence, his voice looping in my head. A man who freezes his feelings ends up freezing his whole life. Mera was already asleep when I got home, or pretending to be. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, watching her back rise and fall with her breathing. I walked to the kitchen instead, to the family tablet we kept for shared calendars and photos. Mera sometimes logged into her messages on it when her phone was charging. I'd never once thought to look. Tonight I looked. Her account was still signed in. My hands weren't steady as I opened the message thread with Ethan. Hundreds of messages. Some were normal, reports, meeting times, quick questions about numbers. But then I kept scrolling. I can't stop thinking about what you said earlier. You make Mondays bearable. You know that? Don't tell anyone I said this, but talking to you is the best part of my day. I sat down slowly at the kitchen table. The tablet's glow the only light in the room, and read message after message that confirmed everything I'd spent 3 days telling myself I'd misunderstood. Grandpa was right. I'd been freezing myself for months. I kept reading. I told myself I'd stop after a few more messages, but I never did. Good night, Ethan. Try not to dream about spreadsheets. Only if you're in them. You're impossible. You love it. There were dozens like that. Small jokes. Late-night check-ins that had nothing to do with work. Rough day. Ethan had written one night at 11:47 p.m. The worst, Mera replied. Daniel had another one of his big deal dinners. I sat there for 2 hours nodding at people I don't care about. Sound exhausting. Sometimes I forget I'm even married, she wrote. Isn't that awful? Not awful, Ethan replied. Just honest. I read that exchange 4 times. There was no confession of love. No talk of leaving me. Nothing explicit. Nothing I could hold up as undeniable proof of an affair in the way people usually mean it. But it didn't matter. I understood exactly what I was looking at. She hadn't given him her body. She'd given him something else. The parts of her day she used to give me. The parts of her mind she used to save for our kitchen table at midnight, when we'd talk about nothing and everything. I sat there a long time. I thought I'd feel something loud. Anger, maybe, or grief, the kind that makes a man's shoulders shake. Instead, I felt something crack quietly inside my chest, like a window breaking in another room, heard but not seen. I closed the tablet, set it back exactly where I found it, walked to bed, and laid down beside my wife, staring at the ceiling until the sun came up. The next morning, I went to work like it was any other day. Shirt pressed, coffee in hand. I answered emails, sat through a meeting about the merger timeline, smiled when I needed to smile. Priya caught me in the hallway around 11. Okay, she said, stopping me. What happened? Nothing happened. Daniel, I've worked next to you for 6 years. I know your normal face. This isn't it. I looked at her for a long moment. Then I glanced around the hallway, empty for now, and said, Can we talk in your office? Her expression changed instantly. Yeah, of course. I shut the door behind us. She sat on the edge of her desk, arms crossed, waiting. I found messages, I said, between Mera and Ethan. How bad? Not physical. At least, not that I've found. My voice came out flatter than I expected. But bad enough. I told her everything. The phone call I overheard, the word husband, Grandpa's warning, the tablet, the messages. She listened without interrupting once, which wasn't like her. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Daniel, I'm so sorry. Yeah. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. Priya hesitated, choosing her next words carefully. So what are you going to do about the deal? The question hit me sideways. For a second, I almost asked her what one had to do with the other. Then I understood. The deal wasn't separate from the marriage. It never had been. It was tied to it from the very beginning. A wedding that became a business alliance, a father-in-law who called me son, only in front of cameras, a merger that would bind our 2 families together for the next decade. If I signed tomorrow, I wasn't just closing a $320 million deal. I was signing myself into a lifetime beside people who had already decided I didn't matter enough to be honest with. I don't know, I said again, quieter this time, but I can't sign it tomorrow like nothing happened. Priya nodded slowly, like she already knew that was coming. Then you'd better figure out what you're going to say in that boardroom, she said. Because tomorrow's happening whether you're ready or not. The boardroom was full by the time I walked in. Mr. Chun at the head of the table. James Whitfield beside him, already reviewing the final contract. A dozen lawyers and executives filling the rest of the seats. All of them smiling the kind of smiles people wear when they think they already know how the day ends. Daniel, Mr. Chun said, standing to shake my hand. Big day. It is, I said. The paperwork's ready. Just need your signature, and we're official partners. He gestured toward the empty chair at the table like he was offering me a throne. I sat down. I didn't reach for the pen. Before we sign, I said, I need to raise something. James Whitfield looked up from the contract. What kind of something? I'm postponing the deal. The room went silent for exactly 2 seconds. Then it didn't. Postponing. Mr. Chen's voice sharpened instantly. Daniel, we've been working toward this for 3 years. I understand that. Then explain to me what could possibly justify walking away from $320 million the morning of signing. I have some personal due diligence concerns, I said. I need time to work through them. Due diligence? James Whitfield set down his pen, staring at me like I'd lost my mind. The financials have been audited 4 times. The legal team cleared everything last week. What exactly are you concerned about? I'm not able to get into specifics right now. Not able, or not willing? Mr. Chen's face had gone red. This smells like sabotage, Daniel. Are you trying to renegotiate terms? Because there are better ways to do that than humiliating me in front of my own board. This isn't about terms. Then what is it about? I looked at him for a long moment. I thought about telling him right there, about his daughter, about Ethan, about everything I'd read on that tablet at 2 in the morning. Part of me wanted to watch his face when I said it, but I wasn't ready. Not yet. And he didn't deserve the truth before Mera did. Some deals, I said instead, aren't worth the cost. That's not an answer, James Whitfield snapped. Do you understand what this does to your firm's reputation? Investors talk, Daniel. Walking away from a deal this size on signing day send a message, and it's not a good one. I'm aware of the risk. Then why do it? Because I need to, I said, standing. I'll have a full update for the board within a month. Until then, the deal is frozen. I walked out before anyone could stop me, Mr. Chen's voice still rising behind me, James Whitfield already pulling out his phone, probably to call someone about damage control. I made it through the rest of the day on autopilot. Meetings I barely remembered. Emails I answered without reading twice. By 6 o'clock, my office was quiet, the city lights just starting to flicker on outside my window. That's when my door burst open. Mera stood there, still in her work clothes, her face pale. Tell me you didn't do what I think you did, she said. Depend what you think I did. My father called me screaming. He said you killed the deal. In front of the entire board. With zero explanation. She stepped further into the room. Daniel, he has spent years on this. Do you understand what you just did to him? I understand exactly what I did. Then why? Her voice cracked. Why would you do that? I looked at her, standing there demanding answers, and, for the first time in days, I didn't feel like hiding anything. Sit down, Mera, I said quietly. We need to talk. Mera sat down slowly, still watching me like she was waiting for the floor to open up. Talk about what? She asked. Ethan, I said. Her face didn't move at first. What about him? I heard you on the phone with him last week. In the home office. I kept my voice level. You called him your husband. That was a joke, Daniel. People say things like that all the... I read your messages, I said. All of them. The room went completely still. You went through my phone? The tablet. You left yourself logged in. I leaned back in my chair. So let's not pretend this is about a joke. Her mouth opened, then closed. For a second I thought she'd keep denying it. Instead, something in her face just collapsed. It never became physical, she said quietly. I need you to know that. That's supposed to make me feel better? I'm not saying it to make you feel better. I'm saying it because it's true. Her eyes filled up, but she didn't cry yet. Nothing happened, Daniel. Not like that. Then what happened, Mera? Because something did. She was quiet for a long moment, staring at her hands. He made me feel seen, she finally said. I know how that sounds. Tell me anyway. When I talk to him about work, he actually listens. He asks questions. He remembers what I say. Her voice cracked. When's the last time you asked me how my day went and actually waited for the answer? That landed harder than I expected. So this is my fault? I said. I'm not saying that. Then what are you saying? I'm saying I got lost somewhere, she said. Between the merger and my father, and this marriage that started feeling like a business contract instead of a relationship. And Ethan made me feel like a person again, not a piece of some deal. Her honesty didn't soften anything. If anything, it was worse than a lie would have been. A lie I could have been angry at. This was just sad. I asked the only question that actually mattered. Did you ever think about ending it with me? She looked up. Mera, did you ever think about leaving? She didn't answer. Her silence stretched out long enough to tell me everything her words hadn't. Okay, I said quietly. Daniel, it's not what you think. I want a divorce. The words landed flat in the room, simple and final. No, she said immediately. No, wait. Just think about this. My father. The deal. Our families have been tied together for years. Do you know what a divorce would do to both our reputations? I don't care about the deal right now. You don't mean that. I froze $320 million this morning, Mera. I think I mean it. Please, she said, standing, reaching for my hand. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can. You already ended us, I said, pulling my hand back. I'm just making it official. The story broke 3 days after the boardroom meeting. Reyes firm freezes $320 million merger. Insiders question CEO's judgment. I read the headline once and closed the laptop. Sophia called that night. Someone from Bishop Media reached out to me, she said. They want to run a story about you. Reckless, vindictive, throwing away a deal your own family built. That's not what happened. I know that, she said. So tell me what actually happened. I told her everything. The phone call, the messages, the conversation with Mera. She listened without a single interruption, which for Sophia meant something. So you're telling me, she said slowly, the story isn't the recklessly kills deal. Its CEO's wife has an emotional affair with an intern, and CEO makes the only decision that made sense. I'm not asking you to write anything. I'm not writing what they want me to write, she said. But I am digging. Give me a few days. She called back 2 days later, her voice tighter than before. Ethan Cole isn't new to this, she said. What do you mean? He worked at Whitlow Financial before Chin Holdings. Left under mutual agreement 18 months ago. She paused. The senior VP he was working under, a woman named Carla Simmons, resigned 4 months after he left. No public reason given. My stomach turned. You think it's the same pattern? I think Mera wasn't his first, Sophia said. I think he's good at making powerful women feel like the only person in the room, and I think it's worked before. Can you prove it? I'm working on it, but I got something else too. She lowered her voice. Lena Park called me. Off the record. Myra's assistant, she's known for weeks, said she couldn't keep pretending she hadn't noticed the late nights, the messages left open on Myra's screen. Sophia sighed. She feels sick about staying quiet this long. She confirmed the Whitlow financial situation too. Said Ethan mentioned it once, joking, like it was nothing. I sat with that for a moment. Are you going to publish it? Carefully, Sophia said. You don't come out of this looking vindictive, Daniel. You come out of it looking like a man who found out the truth and did the only responsible thing. That's the story. Not revenge. Restraint. Thank you, I said quietly. Don't thank me yet. This is about to get messy before it gets better. She was right. 2 days after that call, Mr. Chin found out. I don't know exactly how. Whether Lena finally told him directly or whether one of his board members brought him the same information Sophia had. All I know is my phone rang late that night, and when I answered, his voice sounded like it belonged to a different man entirely. Daniel, he said. Just my name, shaking. Mr. Chun, is it true? His voice cracked on the last word. About Mera, about the intern. I didn't answer right away. I stood in front of my entire board, he said, and told them you sabotaged a deal I built for 3 years. I called you reckless, vindictive. A long pause. And then tonight, someone finally had the courage to tell me the truth my own daughter hid from me. I didn't want it to come out like this, I said. But it's true. Yes, I said quietly. It's true. The silence on the other end lasted so long I thought the call had dropped. I built that deal for her, he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. For my daughter's marriage. For her future. I know. And she was the one who destroyed it, he said. Not you. Ethan was let go from the firm 8 days after Sophia's article ran. I heard about it from Priya, Who heard it from someone in Myra's office. Quiet exit, she told me. No public statement. Just gone. Second time, I said. Second time, she agreed. Word travels fast once people start comparing notes. I thought I'd feel something when I heard that. Satisfaction, maybe. Instead, I just felt hollow. Mera called me 3 days later. I almost didn't answer. I'm not calling to fight, she said quickly, before I could say anything. I promise. Then why are you calling? I wanted to say I'm sorry. Not the way I said it before. I mean it this time. I didn't respond, so she kept going. Ethan's gone. My father barely looks at me. And I keep replaying everything, trying to figure out where I lost you. Her voice wavered. I think I mistook attention for love, Daniel. He paid attention to me, and I confused that with something real. And what was real? You were, she said quietly. Us. Before all of this. And I destroyed it chasing something that wasn't even close to what we had. I appreciate you saying that. Is there any part of you that thinks? No, I said gently. There isn't. She was quiet for a moment. Okay, she finally said. I understand. Take care of yourself, Mera. You too. The call ended, and I sat there in my apartment, waiting to feel something bigger than what I felt. Relief, maybe. Vindication. Instead, I just felt tired, the kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. 2 days later, Sophia called with different news. It's Grandpa, she said. You need to get to the hospital. I made it in time. Barely. He was fading in and out, but when he saw me, his eyes cleared for a moment. Daniel, he said, voice paper thin. I'm here. Priya told me. About the deal. About Mera. He took a slow breath. You did the right thing. Doesn't feel like it. It never does, he said. Not at first. I sat beside his bed and took his hand. I want to tell you something, he said, before I forget how to say it. Take your time. I spent so many years angry at Robert. Even after the company survived, even after everyone moved on, I held on to that anger like it meant something. He squeezed my hand weakly. It didn't. It just kept me frozen in a moment that had already ended. What are you trying to tell me? Don't chase revenge, Daniel. Chase peace. His eyes started to close. Pride will keep you warm for a night. Peace will keep you standing for a lifetime. Those were the last real words he said to me. He passed early the next morning, quietly, with Sophia and me still in the room. I sat with his loss for days afterward, replaying everything. The deal, Mera, Ethan, all of it. And I realized something I hadn't let myself see clearly until now. I never actually wanted revenge. I wanted clarity. I wanted the truth, even when it hurt more than the lie would have. Everything I'd done, freezing the deal, ending the marriage, staying quiet while the fallout unfolded around me. None of it was about punishing anyone. It was about finally choosing peace the way Grandpa said, instead of freezing myself inside a life that had already ended. 6 months passed faster than I expected. The divorce finalized in March, quietly, no headlines, no courtroom drama. Mera and I met once with our lawyers, signed what needed signing, and shook hands like two people closing a chapter instead of ending a war. No hard feelings? She asked, standing in the doorway of the lawyer's office. No hard feelings, I said. And I meant it. She left, and that was that. Priya found me in my office a few weeks later, holding a folder I recognized instantly. New terms for the deal, she said, setting it on my desk. Different partners this time. Westbrook Group is interested, and their offer is actually better than Shun Holdings' original terms. You put this together? We put this together, she said, which is why I think it's time you made this official. She slid a second folder across the desk. I opened it. Co-CEO agreement, my name and hers side by side. You've earned this, I said. I know, she said, smiling, but I like hearing you say it. We signed the new deal with Westbrook 2 weeks later, at a fraction of the drama the original signing had. No fanfare. No father-in-law shaking my hand for cameras. Just good terms, honest partners, and a business built on something steadier than a marriage that had never really been mine to build on. Sophia's article came out around the same time. The real one, the one she'd been sitting on for months. She didn't paint me as a victim. She didn't paint Mera as a villain either. She just told the truth carefully, without cruelty. CEO Daniel Reyes chose integrity over a $320 million deal. The response surprised me. Investors called, not to question my judgment, but to say they respected it. People didn't pity me. They respected me. There's a difference, and I hadn't expected to feel it so clearly. I visited Grandpa's grave that weekend. The marbles still new enough to catch the afternoon light. I understand now, I said quietly, standing there alone. What you meant about freezing, about peace instead of pride. The wind moved through the trees, and for a moment, it almost felt like he was listening. I didn't get revenge, I told him. I didn't want it, not really. I just wanted to stop pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. I stood there a while longer, then walked back to my car, feeling lighter than I had in months. That night, I stood in front of the mirror in my apartment, loosening my tie after a long day of meetings that had actually gone well. I looked at the man staring back at me. Same face, same tired eyes, but something behind them had changed. I wasn't the man who froze in that hallway anymore, replaying a word I didn't want to hear. I wasn't the man who sat in a boardroom pretending due diligence was the whole truth. I was just a man who had finally stopped performing a life that wasn't real. I didn't lose everything, I said quietly to my reflection. I just stopped losing myself.